Hey, Cmax here. Welcome to video 3 of our What to or Why to series on reloading. I'm going to reiterate this once again is not for experienced reloaders. This is basically a series for non-reloader, trying to fill in some unknowns to maybe help determine whether this is something that might be interested in or not. On the last video, we went through and explained all about the resizing die. So we're going to put that back up here. We're done with the resizing die. So we're going to go to the next die. And in this, we're using Lee dies here. And then the next one, this is an expander. Okay. So it looks pretty simple, not much to it. Different companies make different styles. The Lee style here is made to where you can attach a powder drop, the one they make, or a funnel in the top, and you can actually charge the case with powder as you're doing this step. So keep in mind, a lot of these steps that we're talking about, there's several different ways to do the same thing, lots of options. I'm not going to go through all of those, as that can just be really confusing for people. The expanding or flaring, I like to call it a flaring die, expanding die, what have you, serves one purpose. Now these are two of the cases that we have just put through the sizing die, so they're back to the SAMI minimum chamber requirements, okay? But the problem that you have is they won't accept the bullet. So the bullet won't sit on there. So what we have to do is take the neck and just the neck of it, and we have to open it up some so that it'll allow the bullet to start and go down and become seated. Okay. These two here, this is a brass case. This is also a brass case. This can be confusing. This is actually a nickel plated brass case. So underneath the nickel coating is cased just like this. These are totally reloadable just as these are. You do everything exactly the same. Now in today's world with aluminum cases and steel, it can be somewhat confusing. You'll learn to pick up on it. Typically, a non-reloadable case on the head stamp here will have NR. So that's one way you can kind of look. But that's just something real quick I wanted to mention. But here again, what we're going to do on this one is we are going to open up the mouth. Now this is going to be the first adjustment of a die. Remember what we talked about every time? The different adjustments just depend on how high or low you have the die set in the press, in relationship to the ram being at top center. So the way we handle this is, and depending on the brand of die, and this is where you should probably refer to your instructions, basically what you're going to do is you're going to screw it down, and usually till it touches, and then back it up, whatever. And if I remember correctly, it's once it touches the shell holder, you back it out 3 complete turns, and then you start turning it down as you need more and more flare, belling, expanding to where the bullet will sit on there. Now the goal here is you don't want to do any more flaring than absolutely necessary. Weakens the case mouth, shortens the case life. So you just want enough to where you can get it started. And when we go to seat it, you'll see the advantage of that as well. So we're going to go back over to the press, and I'll show you how easy it is to set this up. And you'll get an idea once we do the first one of exactly what we're doing. Okay, here we have a picture of the Lee powder through expander die, and as you can see, you've got the insert down at the bottom that does the flaring, but it's hollow and allows the powder to pass through it. But this picture here is the most common one. Just about all the other manufacturers have one like this, where it just has basically a probe that goes down inside the case and it's graduated. And the deeper you turn that down, the more flare you get. So those are the two basic types I wanted to show y'all. Okay, we're back over at the press. We've got the Lee expand through die, and I'll show you how the funneling stuff sits on top of that once I get it mounted. Just briefly, we're going to spin it in just a couple of times to get it started. Now on this one, we're going to read the instructions. Read the instructions? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. It's very simple. Okay, we've got expander die, and actually here, let's see if we've got the picture so you can see it here. You can actually see the funnel on top of it. Okay, so basically, screw the die in until screw the die in until it touches the shell holder. So we raise the ram to the top, screw the die in till it touches the shell holder. Okay, bingo, that is done. Okay, so let's see here. What else does it say? Then back out one full turn. Okay, so there's only one on this one. Different brands have different ones. So that's why I pull out the instructions and read them. Okay, so we've got to back it out one full turn. Trick. Take a Sharpie and mark what I've done. If you can see that right there, I've actually made a mark. It's getting a little faded. They do fade with time, but it's just a reference point. So if I'm going to back it out one full time, right now it's where my finger is. So all I've got to do is spin this all the way back around to that black mark matches my finger. Then it says tighten, finger tight. So then we just screw down the lock nut. Until it's right there. Okay, so we've done that. So let's pull out the old instructions one more time. Finger tighten lock ring. Adjust the flare to your liking, turning inward to increase the flare. For maximum case life, flare only enough to easily accept a bullet. Okay. In use, the expander plug travels approximately 3/8 of an inch within the die and comes to an abrupt stop at extraction. This helps to shake the powder through. Okay, that's only if you're doing the powder through thing. And I'll show you that at the end. So basically, we've got it here. So what we have to do is test it. Put the instructions back. So what we're going to do, we're going to put a case in, run it up in there. And you can feel it. And then you kind of hear it. As it's grabbing, because it's going inside the case. And once you get used to it, you can actually feel the flare. And if you look at it, you'll get to where you can see it. When you first look at it, you're not really going to be able to see it. I would recommend getting some magnifying glasses. And get used to looking at stuff. You see what you think may be a crack, it might just be a smudge. So get you some magnifying glasses. Even if you've got good vision, they come in very handy. So we did the one turn out back, and let's take the bullet and see how it does. No. See, it won't sit on there. Oh, that one did. No, not very well. And you want to sit on there so that when you're going in, after you charge it with powder, you want to seat it. Now, keep in mind, we have skipped one step for as far as the powder goes. We still don't have any primers in these. I like to wait to prime right before powder the way I do it, because the primer is the most dangerous thing that you do with reloading. The powder's no big deal. It's the primers that are your potential problem. So I tend to hold those off till last. So we're going to make that on the next video. So right now we're just worried about flaring or belling or expanding the case neck to accept the bullet. So that's not enough flare. So what we're going to do is I'm going to loosen the lock ring. And make small turns. See, I've got my mark over here for reference, so you know how much that you're twisting down. To increase it, you want to twist it to the right to drive it down. So I'm gonna do it about a quarter of a turn. Okay. Bring it up in there. You hear it letting go, and like I said, you can hear it release. So now let's see how that'll accept the bullet. Bingo. That's it. See how it sets on there? That's it. That's all this die requires to set up. So that one's done now. These things, and somebody's calling me. These dies are very, very easy to set up. Everyone's like, I want to set it up one time and then never touch it again. Wrong. Just think about what you're doing. Since we've got something internally here that we're going to increase by lowering the die down in relationship to the ram, or raise up to lessen, there's just a little bit of adjustment. And I can tell you what, even with the lock and load bushings like we've got on the Hornady over here or the Lee system, I got news for you. Periodically, you got to readjust them anyway. You're going to, for whatever reasons. So it makes more sense to understand what you're doing than to just try to set it one time to where it works and then never touch it again. Oh, no. It's just not that hard. You know, this stuff is easy and it's fun. So we're going to talk about primers on the next video. This is short and sweet because that's all there is to it, guys. I'm going to go through, since I'm doing this stuff and setting stuff up anyway, I'm going to go through and load this batch. What I've got right here, what I call batch, because you do it in batches. I don't even know how many it is, doesn't matter. It's how many I got clean in that group, so I'm going to go in and load all of them. Well, one thing I wanted to show on the particular Lee die here. Let me back this up a little bit. Raise it up, come in, get this out of the way. Okay, that's better. The powder through expander. Let's assume that I had already put primers in these. And we're putting it in this way. It's got a primer in. See, the top of this is made to accept funnels or even the auto drum drop that Lee makes as well. And you can probably rig other powder drops to work in it as well. I've never really checked it out. I just don't do it that way. I have my own way of doing it. And when it comes to that time, I'll show you on that. But if I wanted to, I could put this up, flare it, weigh out my powder, dump it in right here, then boom. Then I would have a charged case all ready to go. Then I have to set it over here and wait and then do the whole 9 yards. But I don't do it that way. I do it the whole tray method, which we'll get into later. But I did want to show you. And this is actually a Lee funnel that fits. This is an RCBS. Fits too. So these things tend to all be the same size. So you can use different brands. Okay, in turret press, you can recognize these two over here are Lee dies. And they are 40 caliber. These two are the 45 caliber. I leave them in this turret press all the time, just for convenience. But that is the expander die for the RCBS. You'll notice it doesn't have the powder through. Now in the 40 caliber, that's the Lee, it does. See, there's the funnel goes in it right here. So most of the, Lee's the only brand I've ever seen that has that feature. So that's kind of cool for some people. For me, it doesn't matter. I don't use it anyway. But just so you know, Hornady, RCBS, the Lyman stuff, the Redding stuff, the die is going to look more like this, but it works exactly the same. You set the die body, and on this one, you loosen this lock nut and spin it in or out, depending, to set your amount of flare. But it all works basically the same. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Please like and subscribe. Remember, any questions about any of this, let me know. I'll cut a video on it. Thanks for watching. I hope you like the series. What to, how to. See ya.